Okay, doke. So it is just 12 o'clock, so we'll get started. Christy, have you already started recording?
Yes, I have.
Okay, great. Okay, so we will get started. Welcome to the Equestrian Canada National Equine Disease Health and Welfare Call, which is today, August 8th. The purpose of I'm Dr. Melanie Barham. I'm the co-chair of the Equestrian Canada Health and Welfare Committee, along with Doug Orr. And the reason we have this call is to inform stakeholders in the equine industry of important things that are happening, either disease outbreaks or health and welfare issues. So we have a number of speakers, 6 speakers today. And we are going to be recording the call and posting it online to the Equestrian Canada website afterwards. So we will hold questions until the end. If you do have questions, or if you are a speaker, it is *6 to unmute. So the first person I'd like to welcome is Dr. Keith Murch from the Canadian Animal Health Surveillance System. So go ahead, Keith. *6 to unmute.
Me? Yes.
Yep,
Okay.
we can hear you.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you, Melanie. Earlier in the summer, the Council of Chief Veterinary Officers had agreed in principle to look at a mechanism for reporting provincial notifiable diseases to the CAS website. So our working group has been established to look into that and make recommendations, and that group will be meeting a little later in this month to move that project forward. And it'll be, similar to how EDCC works now, but it'll certainly be a little different, but it'll be similar in that regard. Also, with respect to the transfer of the coordination role of CAS to the National Farm Animal Health and Welfare Council, that is in progress. And 2 things there: a federal assistance program application has been put in and is going through the process, and that will help fund that in the interim. And then project proposals have been sent out for consideration, and some of those will eventually be put forward for funding for longer-term sustainability of CAS activities as well. So, and also in September, we'll be having an owning members meeting, and a dual poll either has been or it will be going out shortly to set up a date for that meeting. And that's my report, Melanie. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll hold questions till the end. But I do think it's important to note that as Keith had outlined, that all disease alerts will now be posted publicly on the CAS website. So cas.ca, and then if you look at equine surveillance, it should be there. There have been some reports from across the country already. Now I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Alison Moore, who is the co-lead of the Ontario Animal Health Network Equine Network. Go ahead, Alison. *6 to unmute.
Got it. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, there we go. Thanks, Melanie. So this is for our second quarter, which is April, May, and June of this year. So in terms of infectious disease, we had a fairly quiet quarter, thank goodness, but we had one EHV1 abortion, so herpes virus abortion. That was the neuropathic strain. That's not unusual. We have, at least a handful or less every year during that quarter, 'tis the season. We also have our rabies outbreak still in existence, although it seems to be quieting down a bit, but it is in the southwest part of the province. So that continues, but to date, no horses have been affected. Also, we've had, I guess it kind of blends into this quarter. We are right now into Potomac horse fever time, and we have had positives coming in. We also last quarter had a outbreak on a farm, so it was a small outbreak, but of coronavirus, and I think many of you may have heard of the outbreak in the States at one of the shows that affected a number of horses that took it back to their home farms. So in this, with this coronavirus in Ontario, it was small, but it did affect horses developing colic. But they have got that under control. The non-infectious issues that the network identified and were verified by our survey were just an increase in the number of airway issues likely attributed to the high heat and humidity, which we see every year, but I think it was particularly bad this year as well. We had a number of horses with exertional rhabdomyolysis or tying up noted in the racing industry, and I guess also likely associated with the heat. And that's it. We are heading in this quarter into West Nile Triple E season, and I expect we'll see some positives shortly. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Allison. Okay, so that's we'll hold questions again to the end. As far as the Health and Welfare Committee updates, there aren't any major updates to, luckily, to provide, which is always good news. But as we don't have any major updates, I'd like to share one of the functions of the committee as it relates to this call, because it may be of interest to people on the call. At each event, stewards submit a report after a sanctioned event. And if there is a concern, the Health and Welfare Committee is flagged, and we do review those. In some instances of stewards' reports that have had concerns, we have given yellow cards after the fact, which penalize a rider or an owner or a trainer for negative health and welfare implications. The yellow card is given to a competitor at the time of the event. We also review. And if there are horses injured or reported or mortality, the committee also reviews. And annually, we review the accident and fall report from eventing and review trends. So the reason that we do this is largely to help inform the committee of gaps in competition related to health and welfare, and it helps us make informed rules and policies and recommendations to help with the health and welfare of horses at competition. However, I do want to emphasize the fact that, while we are looking at competition animals, because that's part of one of the data sources that we have, we are the voice for the horse in Canada, and we would welcome concerns that others bring forward from health and welfare concerns, from both inside competition as well as the vast majority of horses that don't compete. So if you did have health and welfare concerns that you wish to bring forward, very welcome to do so through Christy House at khouse@equestrian.ca, and then that will be forwarded directly to the committee. And that's the end of my report. The next person I'd like to welcome is Lindsay Blakely, who will be giving an update on the Equestrian Canada 2019 rules process. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Hi there. I just wanted to let everyone know. I just wanted to let everyone know where we stand in the 2019 EC rules revision cycle and give you a bit of an update. So we have just completed phase 1, where we have sport license holders submit rule change submissions, and we're currently in phase 2. And this is where Equestrian Canada committees review the submitted rule change proposals or those suggestions from the sport license holders, and they decide whether they are accepted as proposed. And then the committees themselves also put forward any proposals that they may have with the accepted changes from the sport license holders. These are then sent on to the National Rules Committee for their review, and that is where we currently stand right now, that the proposals are being reviewed, undergoing a review from the National Rules Committee. After this, we move into the next phase where the proposals are posted online for the community to review and provide their feedback, and that should take place September to October. So we usually send a communication out to all sport license holders to let them know when the proposals have been submitted online and when we're accepting feedback. So just as acting as a reminder to look out for the posted rule change proposals online in September, and also that all current sport license holders are welcome to submit any suggestions from January to May each year, either new rule changes or suggestions for changes to current rules.
Okay, thank you very much, Lindsay. So you said that would be kind of mid-September, beginning of September?
They're posted online. The proposals are posted for review for 30 days, and we try and get them from the beginning to the end of September and have them for the complete
perfect.
month.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, now we'll move to the Equestrian Canada Medications Committee update. Shauna, and I'm welcoming Shauna Curran-Cooper for that update. Please go ahead, Shauna.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me okay this time?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So recently, the Canadian Parimutuel Agency has issued that they will be testing for clozonate and, excuse my pronunciation, clodronate, biphosphonate, and they started on August 1st. The Equestrian Canada Equine Medication Control Committee released a statement on this as well. So for the remainder of the 2018 season, we will be monitoring for the use of these particular drugs. And that way we can, because they do have the potential for abuse, especially in younger horses. So we are going to be monitoring the samples that are coming in and seeing their prevalence in the Equestrian Canada circuit. And then we'll be using that information to determine what that's going to look like for 2019 and how that will fit into the classification scheme and that. So it is now a prohibited drug with the CPMA in racing, and we are monitoring for it. And the second update that we have is that the Equine Medication Control Committee is supporting pre-arrival testing for the World Equestrian Games for the Team Canada horses. So this service was offered to all of the disciplines, and most of them have been taking part. This is just for internal use only. Any information gained is simply for the knowledge of the disciplines and make sure that the horses are healthy and ready to go for World Equestrian Games. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Shauna. All right, our next update is from Christy House, who is going to give us an update on the EIA, Equine Infectious Anemia consultation process, and an update on that. Go ahead, Christy.
Thank you. So I'm just going to go over sort of our internal process and a little overview of what we heard. So we heard from 13 individual members of the horse industry who submitted their feedback in regards to the EIA control program, as well as eight provincial sport organizations, some of our provincial sport organizations and some external provincial sport organizations, as well as a couple of national equine organizations. So we compiled all of that information, which was reviewed by the Health and Welfare Committee, and I took their feedback as well as some other external feedback, compiled it all, and we ended up with sort of three major themes that are feedback to the CFIA reflected, points for clarification in regards to things like lab capacity and enforcement, as well as some recommended program modifications. The major theme in that one was just a little bit of an extension on the phase one for the program, just to help farmers and the CFIA and competition organizers adjust to the changes, as well as the final theme was our potential contribution to a control program, which eventually would incorporate with the development of an equine database and the phasing in of EIA negative testing rule for EC sanctioned competition. So at this point, we've submitted our feedback to the CFIA, and we're patiently awaiting, like everyone else, their what we heard documents, and we'll sort of do a review of that and go from there. That's basically where we're at on the consultation process, but we always are willing to hear from everyone on it, and if you still would like to submit your feedback, I'm keeping them all in file, and you can email me at khouse@equestrian.ca.
Okay, thank you. So that brings us to a conclusion of all of our updates so far. Thank you to everybody we're always so brief and concise on this call. So I'd like to open it up for discussion and questions if there are any for any of our speakers. So *6 to unmute. Ooh, it's a very quiet call today. Okay. So we'll just, so again, *6 to unmute if you have any questions, and if not, we'll conclude the call in a minute or so. Okay, it really is the middle of August. Everyone must be on vacation. Okay, thank you. So we will conclude the phone call now, and this will be posted online as well as an audio recording. Thanks very much, everybody, for attending.